evening, everybody. To our Vice President at Large, Reverend Luther Williams, our Chairman of the Board, Reverend Frederick Brapson, to our President of Women, Reverend Dr. Eleanor Cartwright Muirhead, to our Director of Missions, Reverend Ewayne Jones, to our Congress President, Reverend Eric Williams, to our President of Layman, Brother Robert Pope, to our Regional Vice Presidents, Reverend James Farmer, Reverend Dr. George Brooks Jr., and Reverend Richard S. Brown, to our Treasurer, Sister Adelia Logan, to our Secretary, Sister Alita Douglas, for all of our former presidents, and to all of the other officers of the Tennessee Baptist Missionary and Educational Convention Incorporated, I greet you in the name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. I want to ask you this time, those of you who are on, if you would share this meeting with your friends and ask others to join into this business meeting, we would certainly appreciate it. I want to give thanks to our Regional Vice President, Reverend James Farmer, and our President of the Pastors and Ministers Conference, also one of our former presidents, Dr. Blaylock, and the historic First Baptist Church, and also St. Luke, Greater St. Luke. Thank you all so much for this. Has been a difficult time, and because of this difficult time, I know that you all have worked tirelessly to make this event happen this week, and we just want to say to you, thank you. And I'm glad that all of you who are tuned in are here today as we try to negotiate, as we do negotiate this difficult time. Our board Chairman, Dr. Frederick Brapson, conducted a great and well-organized meeting this morning of our board of directors. And at this time, I simply want to report some of the highlights of that meeting. Some things are just for your information, and other things we will bring before you later on for vote. We're going to have another meeting for the purpose of voting on some of these things that we have decided on, and that meeting will take place Wednesday, and I'll give you some details about that a little bit later. But we want you to be prepared to take notes as to how to sign into the meeting, and we want you to share the information that you get with others so that we can get as many people as we possibly can to be a part of our business meeting. This new virtual world, if you would, revealed and challenged us in so many ways. And what we have learned even today, that because of some of the challenges that were put before us, we actually had to change some of the things that we were doing, because initially we had planned at this very hour to have our business meeting, but we figured out that with the things that we needed to do at the business meeting, we're not going to be able to do that, and we have to do that later. So we have scheduled another meeting for Wednesday the 14th. That meeting will take place at 12 o'clock noon Central Time, 1 o'clock Eastern Time, and it's going to be a Zoom meeting. And if you have not received your link information yet, or if you don't receive it by noon tomorrow, this is what I need you to do. I need you to call our secretary, Sister Alita Douglas, and here's her number. Her number is 865 748 3722. 865 748 3722. Now, when you call Sister Douglas, what I need you to do is to give her your email address if you have an email. Or if you don't have an email, we need you to give her your cell phone number. And that way she can either email you the link for the meeting, which will again be Wednesday at noon, Wednesday at 12 o'clock Central Time, 1 o'clock Eastern Time, and we want everybody who can to sign on. Now, I'm going to give you some information about the meeting, how you sign into the meeting. The Zoom meeting ID, hope you have your pen. The Zoom meeting ID is 859-0923-6122. Again, the ID number for the Zoom meeting Wednesday at noon is 859-092-6122. Then, of course, after you put in the ID, you have a passcode, and this is the passcode 010691. The passcode is 010691. Now, for those of you who don't use your computer and you use your cell phone, I need to give you 3 different sets of numbers. The first number you dial is 929-436-2866. Then after you dial that number, then you need to put in your ID, the meeting ID. It's the same ID that I just gave you, except you add to that the pound symbol. And again, that number is 859-0923-6122 pound. And after you do that, there's another number that you have to put in, which is the same passcode, and that passcode is 010691 pound. And in case you missed that, I'll give that information again before I close. I want to give you some information about Givelify. Somebody else is going to come later and give you some details, and the information will be put up so that you can see it. But you can give to our convention by using Givelify. And I'm not going to try to give you the link right now, but the way it's set up, we'll give you a link. You can actually go out and you can download the app. So then after that, after you download the app, anytime you click on that app, it will take you immediately to our website, and you can actually give digitally to whatever you're given to concerning the convention. At our board meeting this morning, the board voted to make changes in our Constitution and bylaws. Now, that recommendation will actually come before the convention not Wednesday, but it will come before the convention in October at our annual session. And when we bring that before the convention at that time, we will be bringing it to you that we might vote and hopefully to approve the Constitution. And one of the changes to the Constitution, one of the reasons that we need to change the Constitution and bylaws is because the way they are written, first of all, there are some errors in it that are being corrected. Then the other thing is there are some things in it that if we have to comply with those things, we will not be able to make the adjustments in our convention model that we need to make. And you'll hear about this more, but if we're going to make this convention thrive, we can no longer continue to do the model the way we have done it for 140 some years. We just got to change it. And in order to make those changes, that means that some of the things that we are mandated by in our Constitution and bylaws have to be changed. So you will hear about that. We also determined at the board meeting this morning that an annual audit of our financial records must absolutely have to be done, and they have to be done annually. So in order to make sure that they are done annually, we are going to have to put into our budget line item identified to set money aside for the purpose of doing an annual audit of our finances. And you will be hearing more about that. But the audit will take place. The first audit I know of, at least in the last 12 years, the audit will take place between October 31st of this year and December 31st of this year. Because as you know, our fiscal year ends first. So after the fiscal year ends, and we want to make sure that we do the audit by the end of the calendar year, so that everybody will know how we stand financially, and they will know, and everybody will know how our monies have been spent, and if there are errors in the way we've been spending money, that will show up too. I don't believe they are, but if they are, we need to know about that. Let me tell you about the headquarters building. You know that a little over a year ago, the headquarters building was demolished to a large extent by a tornado that hit in Nashville. And many of you know that everything in the building, including the walls, were lost. The only thing that remained after we cleaned up everything inside that building were the outside walls and studs on the inside of the building. The roof was gone. That had to be replaced. And even some of the outside walls had to be repaired because it was indeed a tough hurricane. But thank God that we had the building insured, and after the assessment, our insurance company, Church Mutual, gave us a check, or several checks amounting to $199,911.82 in order to put our building back together. And I want to report to you tonight that the building has been completely refurbished to the tune of $196,083.43. So the building is now ready to be occupied. Also at our business meeting on Wednesday, we will have an update from our election commission. I'm sure all of you know that this year we are electing the president of this great convention, and that charge has been placed into the hands of the election commission. And if you remember, when I formed the election commission, I made a promise to the convention that I would have nothing to do with the election, and I have kept that promise, and I'm abiding by the directions of the election commission as everybody else is. But on Wednesday, when we have our business meeting, we are going to have a report from the election commission so that everybody will know what the plans are. So I want us to keep that in mind. Also on Wednesday, we will listen to reports from the various ministries. And when we call for those reports, we're going to do a roll call. And if you don't have a report, what we need you to do is just say, I don't have a report. I know some of you don't have a report because you haven't been meeting. But we want to change that. That's a different story, but we're going to change that. But one of the things that we have learned pandemic or during this pandemic is we don't have to travel across the state to have meetings. And since we don't have to do that, I'm going to encourage and I'm going to continue to encourage our ministries to call appropriate meetings at appropriate times, and let's do our Zoom meetings or telephone conference meetings. But we cannot wait until we come together at our joint session in April or our annual session in October and do business. If we continue to do business that way, we're never going to really do business. So we will be calling for those reports, and each ministry will be given up to 5 minutes, no more than 5 minutes, to give your report. And you know that after you give your report or before you give it, you need to make sure that your report is written so that we can give it to the secretary and it will become a part of our record. There are two important things on which we need to vote on Wednesday. And that is, I want to present a proposal to you that has been approved by the board of directors to lease our headquarters building. I'm going to present a proposal Wednesday to lease the headquarters building, and on Wednesday when I present the proposal, I will certainly give you more details about how that is to work and to whom we are planning to lease the building upon your approval. The board of directors, as I said, has already approved it, and therefore it will be presented to the body. The second thing I want to present to us for voting on Wednesday is it is time for us to hire an executive secretary. Well, as I look back over the life of the convention, at least since I have been a part of it, it seems that the convention worked more smoothly and more effectively, more efficiently when we had an executive secretary whose responsibility it was to go to bed at night thinking about this convention and wake up in the next morning thinking about this convention and getting things done. There's too much for us to do for even the president and all of the ministries because we are doing it with whatever time we have left. But if we hire somebody and we put that person on staff in a paid position, it would be that person's responsibility to carry out things that we are normally not able to carry out because time just doesn't allow it. So Wednesday, we will discuss these two items in detail, and we will address any questions that you might have, and then we will bring it up for voting. Either you vote for it or you vote against it, and whatever you do, I'm your servant leader to do whatever you want done. Okay, I told you earlier that before I end, I was going to give you details again about how to sign on to the business meeting this coming Wednesday, and the meeting's at what time Wednesday? Okay, I hear you. Somebody said 12 o'clock. 12 o'clock Central Time, 1 o'clock Eastern Time. Now, here are the numbers that you need. The meeting ID, for those of you who are going to use your computer, well, actually the meeting ID, whether you're using your computer or your telephone. Here's the meeting ID, 859-0923-6122. Again, 859-0923-6122. Then you have to put in the passcode. The passcode is 010691. Now, if you're going to be calling in by phone, there's a number that you need to call, and here's the number that you need to call by phone. 929-436-2866. Again, ID that I just gave you, except when you finish the numbers, you need to punch the number sign. Then after that, you are to put in the passcode. The passcode is the same passcode that I've just given you, but after you put in the passcode, you need to punch the numbers sign. So after you do that, then you'll be able to participate, and we want as many of you who can to participate with us at our business meeting. Now, those are the things that we're going to talk about, and we're getting ready to end this part of the meeting, but I want you to make sure to stay tuned for instructions for logging into or onto the worship service. We have a great preacher here, and the preacher that is here tonight, he's not great because he's my nephew, but because he's my nephew, he's great. And he's a great preacher, and you will be blessed by his preaching. And I wanted to introduce him to the Tennessee Baptist Missionary Educational Convention Incorporated. So please be sure to tune in. And not only tonight, but we're having on tomorrow, you will be hearing your presidential candidates make our presentations, and I believe that is set for noon tomorrow, noon Central Time, 1 o'clock Eastern Time. Then after that, we have a class, especially for pastors and ministers, and then we will have worship again, and we have some great guests that are going to be lecturing to us, who are going to be preaching to us, and we want to encourage as many of you who can and will to continue to sign in with us. So after you get instructions, and I'm asking Reverend Palmer, our regional vice president for the West, to come now. So after he gives instructions, we'll be ready to go, except remember that we'll look forward to seeing you at our business meeting on Wednesday at noon Eastern Time, 1 o'clock, no, at noon Central Time, 1 o'clock Eastern. Reverend Farmer.
Thank you, Dr. Maddox, to Vice President Luther Williams in his absence, to Sister Logan and Sister Douglas, and to all of the beloved constituents of the Tennessee Baptist Missionary and Educational Convention Incorporated. It gives me the pleasure just to share with you the rest of our itinerary for the rest of the week, as well as those platforms that you will be able to stream our service and view our services on. As our president stated, on tomorrow, during our lunch and learn, 12 Central Standard Time, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, will be our Presidential Candidates Forum. Our sitting president, Dr. Joby Maddox, as well as Dr. Christopher Davis. That will be hosted by the Greater St. Luke Baptist Church and Pastor Marvin Hall. You can go to the Greater St. Luke website, which is greaterstluke.org, or the Browns Creek district.org website, and view those tomorrow at noon. Also, you can view it on those Facebook pages for the Browns Creek District Association, as well as the Greater St. Luke Baptist Church Facebook page. Then at 6 o'clock, of course, will be our Zoom sessions, will be our classes for pastors and ministers, and we have some phenomenal instructors who will be sharing. That begins at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time to 6:55 p.m. Central Standard Time. You can go to brownscreekdistrict.org and register for those sessions, and then you will receive an email link that will get you in those classes. So we encourage all pastors and ministers to make sure they register online so that you can receive the seminar access for the Zoom meetings. The seminars for pastors is Pastoring Post-Pandemic, Pastor Bartholomew Orr, Preaching Post-Pandemic, one of our guests, Pastor George Parks Jr., Evangelism Post-Pandemic, one of our convention pastors, again, Pastor James McCarroll Jr., and The Church and Technology by Reverend David Brown. We also have associate ministers, learning how to carve out creative space in your pastor's vision, Pastor Carlos Williams, Humble Heart, Willing Hands, the ministerial disposition of the associate minister, Pastor Kevin Taylor, and then I will be leading Praying for Leaders and Leadership, and then our host pastor, Pastor William L. Watson, Creative Methods of Sharing the Gospel Alongside Your Pastor. So those are all seminars for pastors and associate ministers that will be tomorrow and Wednesday, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time to 6:55 p.m. Central Standard Time. Make sure you go to brownscreekdistrict.org and register online so that you can receive the Zoom link for online access to those classes beginning tomorrow, again at 6 p.m. Tomorrow night we will also have, in addition to tonight, we will have preaching tomorrow night as well as Wednesday night. Again, our guest, as our president has already introduced him, Pastor Timothy Maddox Sr. from the Mountain Baptist Church, Hamilton, Georgia. On Tuesday evening at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, we will have Pastor Philip Porter from the St. Mark Baptist Church, Little Rock, Arkansas. And then on Wednesday evening at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time will be our host pastor, who is also president of the Pastors and Moderators Division, Pastor William L. Watson, senior pastor here of the historic First Baptist Church. Those sessions will also be streamed. You can go to brownscreekdistrict.org, historicfirstbaptistchurch.org, as well as the Facebook pages of Browns Creek District and Historic First Baptist, as well as the YouTube pages of Historic First Baptist, as well as our convention. It will also be streamed on our convention YouTube page. Again, President Maddox has given you the information for the business meeting that is scheduled for Wednesday at noon Central Standard Time. He has given you that Zoom information. Again, the meeting ID, in case you missed it, is 859-0923-6122, and the passcode is 010691. So again, which will be held Wednesday at noon Central Standard Time, and it will be via Zoom, and that is the Zoom link information for that. Mr. President, is that everything? Have we omitted anything? All right. We have covered our bases for this. Listen, as we prepare to end the business meeting, you can tune in again to this same site for worship, which will begin promptly at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Stay tuned. This session will end and worship will begin at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Please make sure you tune in. Please make sure you invite someone to share. Once we go live, we're going to ask you to please share it. Please like it. Please form your watch parties. You can also participate in our giving tonight via Givelify. Again, if you will search Givelify and search for Tennessee Baptist Missionary and Educational Convention Incorporated, 900 Jefferson Street, Nashville, Tennessee, you will see a picture of the president on. Give to that link if you are already registered, or you can download the app, create you an account, and you can give and participate in worship tonight, and we pray that you will do that on tonight. We look forward to seeing you in just a few minutes as we prepare for worship. Thank you to the constituents of our convention for tuning in to this meeting tonight. We look forward to seeing you in just a few minutes in worship service. May God bless you real good.